Cool, man. All right, how you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling energized. My mind's racing in a million directions. Curious where this conversation's gonna go, because there's so many places it can and will go.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to have you on, and yeah, it's cool how we've met. And if you've watched my previous episodes, I typically have been expressing that I follow people, or I'm finding people here at Squatch. And so that was exactly what happened with this.
Yeah.
And so we were in the sauna, and yeah, it's very interesting. I've been following you, and this morning was fantastic. I mean, it was a great first trial for me to not jump into certain strength training exercises that typically are just to push your body to with the focus of getting much bigger.
Yeah.
And not focusing on the mobility and the flexibility part.
Yeah.
And which I mean, for the most part, I've been stretching pretty properly, but today you really put me into a gear.
Hey man, I appreciate that. I mean, I'm 41, right? And so
Dude, you're more flexible than me.
You're
10 years older than me.
I'm honestly in the best shape in my life. I've been a bodybuilder, I've been a competitive swimmer, a competitive beach volleyball player.
Mm-hmm.
I've done military style strength conditioning for years, and now it's all about like, how can I be a ninja? How can I be a superhero? How can I be a anime character?
Yeah.
It's a rule in life. Like anything you can do to be more like an anime character is probably a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's humor or crazy strength stuff. And I say mobility, which by definition is strength combined with flexibility, being able to move the joint in all of its intended ways with strength.
Mm-hmm.
Think gymnastics,
Mm-hmm.
calisthenics. So yeah, it was really fun, and thank you for letting me walk you through a grind of play, of
Mm-hmm.
working out. I got bored with the barbell and weights, and was like, let me get more flexible, hang upside down, learn how to do cool shit, balance on one leg, be able to flip myself on top of a bar. It's progress, and it's making me so strong in ways that I couldn't have even imagined years ago.
Yeah, dude. Flipping upside down on those gymnastic rings. It's been so long since I've done that. I remember doing that when I was a kid. And man, it feels good. It's like a little form of play, which helps just make it fun. Yeah. And you do notice, at least when we were using the rings for that exercise where we're
threading the needle,
but also for essentially push-ups.
Yeah.
You can see there's
shake.
A little bit of instability with your muscles. And so a part of me very much so would like to dive more into those types of mobility, like stretching in the beginning was fantastic for just like opening up your hips. And then also the different ways of moving your body, just, man, I haven't ever done before. And
as we talk here, my lot in life I found is to look up information and collect and connect dots.
Mm-hmm.
Look at correlation things, like how this thing is connected to this thing. Hence, I'm a little woo-woo. I'm a little scientist.
No.
I am. And in medicine, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
well, the reason why I said no is because you say woo-woo. I've said it before too on previous episodes.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we potentially may be ahead of where traditional mainstream medicine or beliefs are held right now.
Yeah, I say that as a misnomer, and you're absolutely right. I am devaluing. It is like putting the word just in front of any sentence. You are automatically devaluing what you're saying. So I'm very woo-woo.
Yeah, nice.
Because things are connected more than we think, and a lot of people try to separate them in specialties and training and modalities, and we are rapidly moving into a space where science is proving lineage knowledge, being able to have quantitative data to collect information repeatedly to prove what indigenous practices, whether it's in America, South America, Asia, or Africa, prove what they knew.
Yeah. That has been top of mind for me, is to look back at ancient practices and seeing what people did thousands of years ago and ignoring kind of the natural flavors or the artificial flavors in these products, and trying to be just being cautious with what I'm putting into my body. And so a comment that I made today prior to hopping on the mic was, you've entered my life in a really synchronous time, and that seems to be happening more and more for me, which is fantastic. And maybe it's because I've been implementing the modality of meditation and being present and allowing that to be kind of like the foundation of my health, or part of the foundation.
It's so rare that we're present.
Yeah.
We're designed to be on autopilot.
Yeah.
Your ego, for instance, is there to protect you, to keep you in homeostasis. And part of homeostasis is the same thought pattern and the same emotional state. So you are safe, even if it's painful, it's familiar. This is why it's so hard for people to do the work. What is the work? Well, the work is learning how to deal with your pain, whether that is physical or emotional. And even if I have a pattern of doing something that gives me heartache, I have to remove myself from that situation, observe what's my part in that, because everyone is walking around projecting. I say it's an infinity feedback loop. Perception is projection, and projection is perception. We're all living in our own world, having our own internal experiences, and have all of our lifetime of experiences and maladaptive coping mechanisms and influences and the voices in our head. So we're all walking around projecting. And our job, I think, is to radically own everything that we do. And it's tough and it's painful. And sometimes we just hurt other people. I've hurt plenty of people, and my heart breaks for it. I still cry sometimes about it. And that's just release. Like me saying that is saying, I accept that part of myself. How do I learn how to love that part of myself? That's the mental aspect of it. And why so many people are terrified to do it, because once you start doing that type of work, you're literally going to tear down everything you thought you knew about yourself, the stories you keep telling yourself on repeat, your ego that keeps trying to protect you by saying, keep doing that maladaptive coping mechanism because it's going to keep you in a familiar space. The analogy for why are we afraid of the dark? Humans used to get eaten in the dark. Don't get out of the cave, don't get out of the tree, or damn, Fred just got snatched up by a saber-toothed tiger in the middle of the night. Sucks. Yeah, I'm afraid of the dark. That's been passed down. We're all afraid of the dark. That's an easy example. And things are passed down. Our genes have memory in them that affect us mentally and physically, which those two cannot be separated, like I was saying earlier. For instance, all your nutrients affect your hormones and affect your mood. My vitamin A and E deficiency was passed down from up to 4 generations back. We know that now. So unbeknownst to me, that was passed down to me, but why? Who knows? It was passed down because of mental or emotional stress of a great grandparent that was not getting enough, or was emotional stress and burning through too much. However the case, it flipped on a gene that was passed down to me. It's genetics. And epigenetics is how we change gene expression, your inherited gene expression. You have 23,000 inherited human genotypes. You also have the phenotypes. You've heard the term genetics loads the gun, you fire it. That's part true. You fire it, but you can change the ammunition. You can fire blanks that keep you in that same place of not doing the work, or you can fire fear-piercing positivity rounds when you learn how to incorporate what's coming into your mind or your body and rewriting that script.
Yeah, there's so much I want to tap into.
Here's a fun word. Diet. You know the root word of diet? In Greek and Roman is dieta, way of life. I have a buddy who's working with me, Matt, shout out. He's not big in the spotlight. He works with Hebrew pictographs, like Egyptian hieroglyphics, and breaks down root word meaning, which most words have multiple meanings. Diet, also in ancient Hebrew pictographs, means a plan for what you consume that makes you breathe easier, be in more harmony, and thus live a better life, and you restrict access from anything else. That's diet. Diet is culturally appropriated to a negative connotation, like many words. Like, everyone's nonchalant. Who's chalant? Sometimes I'm chalant AF. Can I cuss on this? I don't even know.
Yes.
Okay, sometimes I'm chalant as fuck.
Yeah.
No one uses it that way.
Yeah.
Indulge, negative connotation.
Yeah.
I'm indulging in this conversation with you right now. It's fucking great. But everyone uses diet. Like, I had a conversation with someone who said they don't subscribe to diet culture. I'm like, you don't understand what the word diet means. It's different for everyone, but it's not just what you're putting into your body. It's also what you're consuming mentally. Your music, your TV that you're watching, they all have scripts, tones. I'm not saying that stuff is bad inherently. I'm saying the medicine's in the dose.
Mm-hmm.
Anything can be toxic. Anything can be a deficiency, whether that's positivity, whether that's losing yourself in spirituality, whether that's losing yourself in the dogma of science, whether that's losing yourself in a certain type of food consumption or restriction. The fact is, we're human beings, and we need 200 amino acids, 12 minerals. You need proteins. You need vitamins. Those things are responsible for all of the amazing things that every cell does in our body. And you can never outwork bad fuel. Ever. It's impossible. Doesn't matter what illness or pre-illness you have, you'll never outwork bad fuel. That old calories in, calories out is a half-truth. And you have to have a history lesson. You have to educate yourself about science and understand how science is practices. You have to understand what's definitive and what isn't. It's just like debate and philosophy in any way you go about life. If you want to have a conversation with someone about something and they have a different opinion, without getting in an argument, not many people do this. This is being present. Is repeat back what they're saying in your own words. So if I'm understanding what you're saying da-da-da. That's philosophy. That's science. That's debate. And you have to hear someone out. It's very common that we're not able to hear someone out in relationships and professional workplace and friendships. And it's the cause of a lot of our issues. Are we present enough to put our own bullshit aside to hear the other human being and acknowledge them and say, I hear you, I see you. That's all any of us want. We're humans. We're not meant to be isolated. We need community. We need to be heard, seen, hugged, touched, loved. That leads right into the way we use the word diet today is, but why it's not efficient.
The root word of diet. That was most people, at least in America, have a very negative connotation towards diet. And how you just relayed that, how it's interpreted in, you said Greek, ancient Greek?
Greek, Roman and Hebrew pictographs.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll show you how Matt's brain works. He draws it out for me, and he has a YouTube channel where he goes over certain words.
Yeah, please.
And he's working with me on this project, so I will have words and their meaning. Like some people are a fan of Brene Brown,
Mm-hmm.
Atlas of the Heart.
Mm.
If you haven't read the book, do so. If you're not a reader, watch the HBO special. It's the same concept there. Atlas of the Heart is a vocabulary lesson in emotion. How can we effectively communicate what we're saying if we don't know the definition of the words we're using?
Mm.
So HBO goes over 30 emotions. Atlas of the Heart goes over 80. You can watch it, and they use other specialists. They use cinematography, splices of movies, songs, art to further explain a word like agony or despair. Most people can only precisely define 3 emotions: happy, sad, angry. And a reminder that you're not your emotions. Your emotions are like a storm that passes through, and they need to pass through. But it's not where you live. It's what you feel. And we're all feeling and thinking human beings. As much as we'd like to say, oh, no, I'm a philosopher, I'm a scientist, I think, I use my brain. It's like, yeah, but you feel too. And your feeling is tied into your thinking.
Mm.
Your intuition is the knowledge of your body and your subconscious mind. When you have a craving for something, that's your intuition. That's your body's intelligence. It's not your thinking intelligence. When a goat eats ashes out of a fire, they're craving the minerals that are left behind in those ashes. And that's how shepherds, you have a black sheep. The reason they use a black sheep is because it tells them when to move on from their grass that they're feeding. The black sheep starts to go gray, starts to go white, like we start to go gray and white. Huh. You're deficient in something, and that could be something that was passed down to you, like I said, from 4 generations earlier, and then you exacerbate it because of our Western diet. But that's where that started from. The black sheep was. It was a determining sign or factor in moving your livestock to get a better diet.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Me neither. A very curious individual.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that our sickness, be it mental or physical, is the biggest business in the U.S. for people. It's 0.25% of our GDP is spent on healthcare. Almost 99% of that is spent on treatment instead of prevention. And it's not any one particular person's fault. It is a myriad of greed and causality. And you have to get a history lesson to understand how these things have impacted our biochemistry. When people toss terms around like oxidative stress, and when they toss terms around hormone regulation and mitochondrial dysfunction, what the fuck does that mean? And what chemicals, elements affect that? That is the depth of our knowledge. And that's lineage knowledge. These shamans, when you go for a psychedelic experience, they are trained in nutrition.
They aren't, or they are?
They are.
Okay.
They don't know how to treat a Westerner because our diet is shit. That is part of their culture. And their culture starts as early as 8 years old and is done annually to biannually for like psychedelics. You pick it, whichever one. Aya, mushrooms, peyote, achuma, like. And the Western approach is bastardizing it just like we do everything else, where oh, a quick fix, an experience. Let's go. And yes, it's beautiful. I'm a huge proponent of it. But just like American healthcare, no one's talking about the preventative care and these effects of these things on your health, on your mineral status. Their diets and their mineral uptake, their vitamin uptake are generally completely different than ours. And a shaman is trained. That's why they put you on a diet. They put you on a diet for their people. And then they also will tell you what to eat. When someone's struggling, they're like, that person needs more of this. That person needs more of this plant. Give that person more of this, because they know they have a relationship with that plant and realize nutritionally what's in it that your body needs. It's not just about holding space for someone in their psychedelic experience to make sure that they stay open to showing them whatever their relationship with their belief system is showing them. That's half of it. So that is, by and large, overlooked completely.
Yeah, that's a very makes me curious to dive into that, because I went on my first ayahuasca retreat. Thankfully, I've been in a good motion of just within my lifestyle. So balancing nutrition, going to the gym, having healthy friendships, staying in contact with my family. Like, things are becoming balanced, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like I'm in a very, very low state, depressed state where the cup is filled very low. I'm not taking care of my body. I'm not exercising. So let me just go do ayahuasca and have it solve all of my problems. It wasn't like that. And I actually recently wrote about this, and I thought it was very important to provide that context. It's like, this is where I was at in life prior to entering into this psychedelic experiment. And so you highlighting this, I believe I noticed you had an Instagram video on shamans and their instinctual ability to be aware of
their training,
the malnourishment.
They're trained.
Yeah.
That's part of what their lifelong training is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just not understood. We're at the tip of the iceberg with that. People are studying the effects on your serotonin receptors, but it's also what minerals, what elements. When I say mineral, we're talking about an element, the periodic table of things that are needed for life on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
There are universal laws of life. And so we are just starting to understand how, if you're not in a healthy state, which most Americans aren't, and what I mean by that is you're metabolically ill. You have metabolic syndrome, which is not reimbursable by health insurance. There is no treatment for, because a doc's not trained to treat that. They're trained to fix a problem, to prescribe, and not many prescriptions heal or cure anything. They just cause further problems down the line. Now, being on prescription medications in the United Kingdom, in Canada, and the US is a top 5 leading cause of death. Right up there with heart attack, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and diabetes, which is insulin resistance. Okay? And all medications are petroleum-based. They interfere with copper and magnesium, essential for most life on this planet.
Wow.
So when I say universal laws, that's what I'm talking about.
Huh.
So let's take a journey so I can further explain this.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Before there was animal life as we know it on this planet, we're going to go some archaeological history and talk about the universal law of rust, decay, entropy of life on this planet, and even a sun, a star. 2.45 billion years ago, the planet was a reducing atmosphere. There was no oxygen. There was single cell, like an amoeba, animal life, and there were algae that, just a plant, it produces oxygen, it poops out oxygen, photosynthesis. Well, eventually the oxygen was managed by oxidation, by rust. Okay? So reducing atmosphere with no oxygen in it. That's how they mitigated everything. Ecosystem. It's designed to homeostasis, to recycle itself and keep going. The body, the planet. Well, all those algae pooped out enough oxygen and it overrided everything. By the way, we see rust in the rock. We dig down that long ago and there's rust everywhere. The seas were shallow. That's what reducing atmosphere means. It was oxidizing oxygen, which is also what an oxidant is, an antioxidant. Every time you hear me say the word oxidant or oxidative stress, think of two words. Thank you, Morley Robbins, for teaching me this. But an accident with oxygen. That's rust. An accident with oxygen. Iron rusts over time. This is what happens in our cells. So
it's excessive oxygen?
Yeah.
Amounts of oxygen.
Oxygen is the second most reactive chemical on the planet. It's deadly. It interferes with everything.
But we need it for life.
We adapted to need it for life. So this is where that story goes. Is eventually all those algae produce enough oxygen to create an ozone layer, and in doing so, it snuffed out 99% of life on the planet. Wow. And at the same time, endosymbiosis occurred when a mitochondria decided to live with an animal cell. Animal cells couldn't make their own energy. It's like an amoeba. They eat something and break it down for energy, but they're really good at fighting off attackers. Mitochondria can't fight off an attacker at all. It's fucking algae. It just sits there. It makes energy, it poops out oxygen. But they said, hold up, I'd love to live into this little safe household where I have protection of these membrane cells that are made out of cholesterol. And then you had multicellular animal life. And you had cholesterol for the first time on the planet.
Whoa.
That's when cholesterol evolved.
But cholesterol's bad.
Not at all. It's essential.
What? I could have sworn the American Heart Foundation told me, or Association told me it was terrible for you.
Fun fact, the attack on fat started in 1955.
Okay.
Right when Eisenhower had a heart attack. And you had Dr. Keyes do what's called the 7-country study. And that illustrated 7 countries and why fat was bad. But what he left off were the other 15 countries that proved why fat was good. And he literally buried that information. And then the American Heart Association bought it.
Wow.
And in the 80s, when statins came out to lower cholesterol, everyone should be on statin. The way we measure blood pressure changed to correlate causation for being on statin. Your liver produces 1,000 milligrams of cholesterol every day, up to. It varies with people. And your body naturally produces 80% of the cholesterol that you need for life. Mm-hmm. It is a part of every cell membrane. Every cell in your body has cholesterol in it. It is the doorway in and out of a cell. It is how elements, minerals, chemicals move in and out of a cell. And so if you're reducing the 20% that we consume from fat that we need, your body makes more either way. A statin doesn't even stop you from having a stroke, doesn't stop you from having a heart attack. It adds on average less than a week to your life. So what the fuck's it doing?
It's putting more money in the...
There's a movement to have kids, have teenagers be on statins so they can prescribe more. So then your insurance rate goes up because now you have a disease.
I mean, there's a movement for plenty of prescriptions for kids.
Yeah. So there's no way that you're something that's been around to help deal with oxygen, to help deal with rust. It takes 11 molecules of oxygen in a process to make one lipoprotein, cholesterol. All the sterols, lots of different types, are needed for hormone regulation, for fertility, for dealing with oxidative stress when there's not enough copper available. There is no test for bioavailable copper. Most of your copper lives in your liver. Copper, back to our time travel episode, and in all life on the planet, plants, animals, has a unique chemical reaction with oxygen in that it breaks it down. It separates oxygen from being harmful with no waste product. It's brilliant. That's the gift of copper to this planet, to all life on this planet. So your body is amazing and has all these backup systems. So if you don't have enough bioavailable copper, cholesterol actually helps deal with oxidative stress, with an accident with oxygen. Now, where do you get an accident from oxygen from? Well, your hemoglobin carries oxygen and nutrients, elements to a cell for them to do what that cell is specialized in doing. Well, when that cell, the copper is not available, iron's attached to that hemoglobin and oxygen. 70% of the iron in your body is attached in your blood to hemoglobin. Here's an analogy to help explain this. I know this is a lot of science. Imagine you have a coal burning factory and you have the railroad cars bringing in coal and you have the workers shoveling the coal out of the railroad cart and dumping into the furnace. Everything's running smooth. Whatever it's producing, whatever cell in your body, that factory, the mitochondrial factory, whatever it's producing, awesome. That's a hormone, that's a mood, that's a sensation, that's arousal, that's the ability to be fertile. Now imagine that all the workers were old. Productivity goes down. Or imagine that all the workers got sick at the same time. Or imagine the railroad carrying the coal cars speed up and the workers can't keep up. The workers are copper in your mitochondria. The coal is oxygen carried by iron. We are not anemic. We are iron toxic. A blood test is saying what's free floating, and we're trying to figure out the amount of iron that's in your cell. It's hard to do. Tests aren't really designed that way. Your doctor's not trained that way. Your body needs retinol, vitamin A, to use this copper. Retinol we're very deficient as a population in it. We're deficient in copper. We're deficient in magnesium. We're overloaded in iron. This makes everyone tired, fatigued, and this is metabolic syndrome, which is non-reimbursable. There's no treatment for it. Your doctor's not trained to treat it because it's not a problem yet. But you don't just get sick. It's a slow build. It's not a switch that says you have diabetes, or a switch that says you have kidney disease, or a switch that says you have liver disease, or a switch that says you have cardiovascular disease. All that is dysregulation of iron and the storage of lipofuscin in the wrong area. And we got this way by having the worst health outcomes in 38 of the wealthiest nations on the planet because of our overprescription and our under-nutrient food, the industrialization of food. Magnesium is a macro mineral. We need it for like every enzymatic process, every energy production. When I'm talking ATP, it's magnesium ATP. And the precursor to that is a copper enzyme made with ceruloplasmin that is a initiator for your entire immune system for an energy production. Every cell making energy to do what it needs to do. A brain cell, a liver cell, heart cell, all of it. It's difficult to explain to people that have the dogma that they won't entertain correlation facts. I'm not the only person who's done this. I've just read other authors who have cited all these studies. When we say it's not in our food anymore, it's the how. Why is it not in our food anymore? We have to have a history lesson there too.
I was just going to ask copper and, so I take magnesium supplements.
Hell yeah.
Where can you get copper naturally? What foods?
Beef liver.
Okay, so I have plenty of beef, so I'm good there.
Beef liver.
Beef liver.
It's the most, but all of our, in any animal, that's where the copper is mainly stored. The liver.
Okay.
So the old school things, when you talk about eating nose to tail, yeah, it's great. Organ meat's great, everything. Fucking liver. Everyone should have a minimum of 4 to 6 ounces of beef liver. You can cut it in cubes, shoot it like an oyster in the freezer. You can get freeze-dried, no hormone, grass-fed liver. But it's hard because our agricultural practices are shit compared to other countries where we import a lot of our food from. They're even worse. So here's some things to think about of why our nutrients aren't in our food anymore. The refrigerator and the railroad system. Before then, do you know how we used to store meat for the winter or for travel, for shipping?
I think you told me this.
Yeah.
Using salt.
Yeah, sea salt. Super high in a ton of minerals, including magnesium.
And it preserved.
It preserved.
For how long?
The winter.
Wow.
It's thousands of years. People salted their food. Thousands of years they salted their food. And then man invents a refrigerator and the railroad. So now we can transport quote unquote fresh food. So it was goodwill. Like they were thinking like, this is amazing. We don't have to do this anymore. Like here's a better way of doing things. They didn't realize that in one fell swoop, you cut out 2/3 of our magnesium consumption. 2/3 of our magnesium consumption. Instantly.
Because of the sea salt that would preserve the meat. Okay.
And other micronutrients that are essential for life, like iodine. Now, your crops. Let's go down this rabbit hole for a minute. You used to have micronutrients in the soil. You used to have mushrooms in the soil. You had a whole biome flourishing with life in the soil. You used to have locally owned farms that would sell to the local community. But as industrialization happened, started getting corporate, slowly, bigger over time. They used to use fulvic acid and rock dust, mineral dust as fertilizer. That is, akin to your shilajit being in your 80 bioavailable minerals and metals being bioavailable in the soil. If you want a plant to grow really well, wrap a copper wire around a stake and put it next to that plant and give it fertilizer. So, fertilizer. NPK. You hear that a lot, right? NPK fertilizer, bad.
I think so, yeah.
All right. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, the elements.
Okay.
That inhibits copper and magnesium absorption. They're fighting for the same receptor to be absorbed into the plant or the grass that the livestock's eating. So it's not getting into the animal or the plant. Farming. Okay?
Yeah.
And then everything else that we're spraying on them also inhibits this.
Yeah.
This is well cited, well understood. You hear glyphosate, Roundup, weed killer. Why? Why is that a cancer-causing agent? It's inhibiting copper and magnesium uptake, what your body needs. And if your body cannot use copper that is necessary for all life on this planet, that is, quote unquote, the layman's term of shitty energy production is mitochondrial dysfunction. But it's kind of like saying IBS. What's really causing that IBS? It's a myriad of things that are causing that irritable bowel syndrome. Irritable bowel syndrome, those are symptoms. That's not a diagnosis.
Right.
You know, like, so yeah, this deep dive on understanding chemicals. And basically we have zombie crops that have the bare minimum because life's amazing and it figures out a work. It wants to survive. It wants to live. We all want to live. So it figures out a way to live. And then they pull it before it's ripe. That ripening stage in a crop is when it absorbs and makes those micronutrients bioavailable. So you're picking it before that happens, and it's not there to begin with. Now you're at a huge deficit. And then every other pesticide that we spray on it also directly affects copper and magnesium absorption in a crop, and thus an animal, and thus you.
So thank you for all of that, the intricacy of all of the human interference that we've had with.
Those are just the big ones. There's a
lot more. I know there.
Yeah.
And I could listen to it all day. I've had just an intuition knowing that this is the case with many different aspects of modern life right now. And part of that was because so your specialization is, according to your Instagram handle, well, so you're a registered nurse, but you're also looking to dive into, and you can get into this as well, more of a holistic approach. And it's amazing to have the gentleman that was outside working out. He put it pretty nicely. You're just a unique combination of what we need right now in the world. So
thank you.
holistic approach, but you're also in the system that is very, very flawed.
Yeah.
And I think I had a pretty good understanding. Well, not as intricate, but I over time, since I would say over the course of the past few years, I've been able to get into different topics that interest me. First, it was like our money system. Mm-hmm. And so when you describe the U.S. being the number one wealthiest country, all these different technologies that we've created that have malnourished us instead of thinking it was for convenience and making things better. Mm-hmm. I think that, like, in a general sense, that's America right now. We strive for convenience, but we don't take care of the process, like the reason behind, you said, plucking plants before they're ripe and putting fertilizer. Like, there's a lot of these incentives in the system right now that are perverse, and maybe over time it's been a combination of things, and
it becomes dogma. It's just like we were saying that word diet.
Yeah,
science becomes dogma, but it's half truth. They're leaving out parts of it, and like you said, for greed. It's very human to want control and want power, and that's a balance act too, right? Like, how much can we control in our life and how much can we surrender? Like, the whole, I'm spiritual as fuck. Am. Right? And you cannot completely surrender to anything. You cannot completely give away your control of your thoughts and your mind. In a moment, you can if you need to, but it is always a tightrope walk, a balance between what do I have control over? What do I not have control over? Surrender.
Mm-hmm.
What actionable steps can I take to be in harmony, mind, body, spirit, a holistic human, homeostasis? And for me, in this moment in life, it's on all fronts. It's never ending. Sometimes we focus in one area more than the other. Sometimes it's more the mental, emotional, and coping and projection. Yeah. Sometimes it's more science. And hey, I need a better understanding of what this is.
So one thing, what got me here to Austin, what got me to on this self-embetterment path, there was a few other things. I think it was pain, first of all, but to really progress and head into a new step, like a next level, it was understanding our money system. So I work for a Bitcoin startup.
Wow.
And that just, there's a book that I want to recommend to you. I think you'd be able to tie in all of these things.
I'm heavy into GameStop which is exposure.
The meme stocks.
Right. But how deep do you go with it? Because it's the synchronicity there that its name is GameStop and is causing new laws to be written for short trading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is hilarious.
Yeah.
And it is illuminating. That's what it was. There's a bunch of investors that started seeing why is Citadel, why are they shorting the stock of a completely profitable business that has no debt?
Right.
And is actually making huge gains in all these other areas.
Mm-hmm.
It rapidly jumped into, what's the one right below the Fortune 500? It's the
S&P 500 or Dow.
Yeah.
The index.
They've systemically moved up, GameStop.
Yeah.
And they're trying to be disruptive to the banking system, to Citadel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was interesting to see all that happen and play out. I was not here in Austin when that was occurring, but I was heavily into Bitcoin. I was just just mentally heavily into Bitcoin, understanding. Well, there's one book. So the author actually moved here of the Bitcoin standard and the fiat standard. Mm-hmm. I read the Bitcoin standard first back in 2020, and it blew my mind. It absolutely destroyed my perception of life in a good way, like understanding how money is a technology and whatnot. And so then he wrote the fiat standard. It's pretty dense, but I mean, you've had to study to become a nurse. I'm sure you're used to dense information. And the second part, there's 3 parts of the fiat standard, and you might be able to. Well, anyway, so the second part, it's called fiat life, and he dives into fiat energy, food, academics. And when he says fiat academics or fiat before these areas within life, it's due to the influence of our monetary system being corrupted for so long. So, incentives with medications, our healthcare system leads to Wall Street, shareholder reports, which directly, the Federal Reserve isn't even, it's this agency that's technically not a governmental body. I could be wrong there, but essentially,
it's not.
They print all this money at a flip of a switch. They press a button, and these digital zeros enter whatever digital numbers enter into a database. I don't think people have any clue how disruptive and how much power there is into the ability to print or to create that much money, and then that money gets siphoned in ways that are unethical or unfair. And that's been maybe that happened back in the early 1900s, but I think also what happened in the late 1800s, I was talking to a gentleman on my podcast about Rockefeller, and the Rockefeller Foundation essentially was the eradicator of holistic medicine and petroleum-based medicine. And so essentially, I think it was for the Rockefeller incident, that was like the late 1800s, and then like about 5 or 6 decades later,
the Flexner Report.
The Flexner Report, that's what it was, yes.
1910.
Yeah. So that had a profound
in one fell
impact.
Swoop, it's shut down
everything.
Half of the medical schools that used to include chiropractor and osteopath modalities that are still alive and well and genius, and rewrote the scripts and the syllabus for what is now taught in medical school. That's where it started. And I can't remember the other name of the family that started the first school of medicine in the U.S. Also, the School of Pharmacy started at the same time.
And all of this was for profits, I believe, because how did Rockefeller start? It was railroads.
So we're talking about the oligarchy that runs everything, the wealthy families that own everything.
People don't even really hear Rockefeller that much nowadays, but they're still pretty prominently wealthy.
Every company has a parent company, but there's only so many actual parent companies. Like, look at the size of Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Yeah.
So, it's really an oligarchy. Like, our leaders come in and out, besides the ones that are voted for a lifetime, whatever. But they're all influenced by these quote-unquote big businesses that are owned by a dozen families. That's the definition of an oligarchy, when you have
right.
a number of families that rule a province or country or whatever. And everything is influenced and lobbied. I mean, you can look at, a senator and congressman's investment is public knowledge. You can look up the history of what they've invested in.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
always ahead of the market.
There's a funny Nancy Pelosi stock tracker on Twitter.
Yeah.
And prior to Elon taking over Twitter, when Twitter was heavily banning information they didn't like.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi stock tracker was publicly making it aware on Twitter through tweets showing what she was investing in right before these unexpected events would happen, which is bullshit. She knew exactly what was going to happen. Her husband would invest in all these things so that they would gain massive, massive capital gains. Mm-hmm. And so it's so
blatantly obvious.
Egregious and obvious, and it's just so unfair because there's like...
This is why I'm in healthcare.
You walk around like Austin right now, downtown, any major city in the United States, and homelessness is getting so bad, like so bad. It's so sad to like see these one woman that's a politician that's probably creating more detrimental energy within this world. I would say. I mean, I don't know Nancy Pelosi that well. I don't follow her life that much and her contributions.
Doesn't come over for dinner?
No.
Not brunch?
But I don't follow like...
Let's get her on the cast.
No, thanks. Actually, Nancy, what do you think? Let's talk Bitcoin. But it's just sad because you see this blatant, egregious corruption and...
Greed, power.
Yeah.
Not trying to help your fellow man, trying to control and make a buck off of making people poor, making people sick.
Yep.
And I love that this is what you're in because from my understanding, what that movement for Bitcoin is to get out of control and the banking mafia.
Well, Bitcoin is, it's a monetary system run by rules, mathematical rules and not rulers.
Exactly.
It's decentralized and it has a finite supply.
Yeah.
And so the startup that I work for allows for individuals, businesses, and entities, whatever, to hold their own keys, cryptographic keys, to their own wealth that will not be distorted or printed or created by one or two people or whatever, a group, an entity. Yeah. And so what that will do is, in my opinion and through other opinions of people that have been studying Bitcoin, is that it will bring a more fair, ethical, symbiotic relationship between human beings because now there are restrictions. If you think about politicians being able to enact things or move forward with certain legislations, and just financing war is a big one. Mm-hmm. They do it through just creating money, like or
financing medical mandates,
right? And so they won't be able. Here's the thing: is to what I've described on the podcast before is if you have a finite resource, whether it's food, shelter, whatever, money specifically, you change. Your mindset changes. Politicians, if they understand what's happening with the current monetary system, but then eventually once we get to a Bitcoin, hyper-Bitcoinized society, which essentially means that we're transacting in Bitcoin, they will have to adjust to that. And then that will reciprocate, or it will there will be a ripple effect amongst the rest of society and the world. I'm not saying that there won't be these tribal wars and unethical behavior will be totally eradicated, but it will bring...
That's human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it will bring a more... I think it's going to bring competition in a fair way. So, because like you don't have a fair... And sorry, just real quick, you were saying how we're constantly in hyperdrive, or we all are striving to, we all have this motivation to continue to progress and to have a better life and to live longer because we love life. Right now, when you print billions...
Time in life is a currency.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when they print money, Robert Breedlove and there's a few other people in the space within Bitcoin, they talk about this, but printing money is like stealing your time.
Yes.
And people don't grasp that concept. Every time they print money, they are stealing your ability to have freedom of time in the future. So you have to then work more. It's literally the hamster wheel.
And the three biggest things that outrun inflation: cost of tuition, cost of real estate, and insurance. What the hell does insurance even do?
I know, it's a scam, it seems, to me at least.
It is. Those are the three biggest scams in America.
Yeah.
Those prices have gone up
So much.
disproportionate
Oh, yeah.
to inflation, and will continue to until something else breaks or snaps or changes.
Which,
So,
I mean, it's already happening.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
it's funny because it's like, that's what I love about Bitcoin, and the GameStop saga showed me, because it's tied in, you know, it's freedom fighters that are trying to break us free financially because we have currency. And I'm on the other side of that. I'm trying to empower people, educate people on how to take a hold of their health span. You're going to die.
Yeah.
And you're going to die if you live long enough, and not by an accident, from natural causes. Entropy, rust, natural cause is cardiovascular disease, is neurodegenerative, Alzheimer's, is diabetic, insulin resistant, and cancer.
Yeah.
All cells, all disease is a cell doing one of two things, and that is shrinking away too fast. There's something wrong with the metabolic respiration of a cell, or it's growing too much without dying, cancer. There are only 8 known pathways to that in science. That's it. That's all we know right now. And it's, like I said earlier, whatever organ it's in, that's what we deem it. But how do you prevent it from getting there? That's my job.
Yeah.
Is empowering people, educating people, giving them access. That's my project that I'm working on.
Oh, yeah. And we need more people like yourself and other, I would say, fitness or health practitioners that are pushing against the grain of traditional healthcare and.
Well, a doc's not trained to cure; they're trained to treat a disease, and that ultimately shortens your life. And like we worked out today, you got to keep moving. You know, the basis of that, like I said earlier, is like the 5 Tibetan rites. The basics of yoga. They found out that doing a few movements like a thoracic twist, like a bridge, an L-sit, a hinge, those things keep your body moving the way all your joints can move. And this is if you don't use it, you lose it. If I hunch over at a desk or looking at my phone all the time, and I don't spend any time doing the opposite and arching my back and putting my chest up and seeing how far I can back bend, that's longevity. You know, here's the correlation between epigenetics, stress, placebo, and emotional theory. So, what is placebo effect?
Well, my buddy Hutch was recently on, and we talked about Joe Dispenza's "You Are the Placebo."
Yep.
So, showing a interesting experiment in which some people were told they were given one pill that would give them an uprising of energy and versus down, but it was the opposite, right? So instead of, they told these individuals that they were receiving a stimulant, and it was not, but their body reacted, reacted in a way as if it was a stimulant. So the power of belief is incredible. And so we talked about that. Yeah.
By definition, that's placebo, is the belief in treatment.
Yes.
So you're told something is a thing, you believe it, that's belief. Okay? But it has to be a belief in treatment. It has to be, those are the two components: belief, treatment. Something is doing this for me. I believe in it. It's the same way with any healing modality. And that's why people need education, because what resonates with you? What feels right in your body and your mind in that moment? What teacher do you come across, or friend or lover or friend, that something resonates. And you can tell because you feel calm. You feel at ease. You feel that your central nervous system is not telling you to be excited. It's not telling you to be like, oh shit, like that's exciting. Ooh, that's dangerous. Mm-hmm. And we think that's good. It's like butterflies, dangerous. But really it's, I feel seen. I feel calm. You have to believe in the treatment that you're receiving. And the more I learn about all these different modalities, it's just like religion. It's like they're all kind of doing similar things. It's just what flavor do you enjoy? Do you want Indian? You feel like eating Chinese tonight? You want to grab some tacos after this? You know? And it's that's the fascinating part is they're all tapping into different things, and you have to come up with a system to explain things to people. Mm-hmm. Wim Hof is not the guy who invented that breathing. He got it from Tumu style monks in the Himalayas. That's where he learned it. It's got a name before that. It's got a name before that.
What was the name, if you don't mind me asking?
I have no idea. Kundalini Yoga. That's a name here brought into the U.S. That was learned somewhere else, had a different name before that. Mm-hmm. And the list goes on. It's capitalization and creating a system to be able to explain it to people. But then we get attached to the dogma and the identity. I am a Kundalini yoga practitioner. I'm a Wim Hof practitioner. I was like, yeah, cool. You do breath work. You like yoga. It comes in a lot of flavors too. Mm-hmm. There's not enough yin yoga in town. And if you go into a holistic community like Phoenix, most classes are 90 minutes. Here, hustle and bustle. We're in LA. No one knows it, right? We're in this fast-paced city.
You really disturbed me when you said that today. I was like, no, please tell me no.
Every mogul over here. The whole spiritual community is flipped because of it. I got big problems with that. I'll say that in a second. Yeah. So everyone's go, do the thing, take care of your body, work out hard, play hard, hustle. Yang energy. Yin is the that felt good. Let's take a breath. Let's take a big yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yin is being nice to your body. Yin is the physical therapy. Yin is prehab. Yin is shavasana, is laying there and seeing if you can get your muscles to relax. It is equally as important, yet Black Swan and all these yoga practices around town, they're great, but there's not enough yin. I found yoga studios in other cities, in other states that have equal practices of yin and yang. And they use sound, and they tell you the words in Sanskrit. Why is that important? The power of a spell. What is a spell?
Trance.
It is tying meaning to a word. Spelling. Yeah.
Okay.
Guess what a magical wand was made out of in the UK? Hollywood. Oh
shit.
Yeah. So now we have spell casting in Hollywood. In a way, it's true and yet not true. Porque no los dos.
Yeah, I haven't gone down that rabbit hole with Hollywood, but I've heard some crazy shit.
Sure. But just illustrating a fact that
yes, it's definitely a media propagandized.
So
yeah.
In this go in Austin, and hard to find, there's a couple studios that do have things like that, and I really enjoy my time I go there. It's also why I do a lot of mobility, because a lot of that is me breathing and relaxing. Meditation. It's one of the best things you can do for yourself. Give yourself, I don't care if you don't say you don't have time. What you don't change, you're choosing. Let's say that again. What you don't change, you are choosing. And that is your health, your perception, your narrative that you keep telling yourself and not being able to look at it, the not wanting to deal with something that's difficult in your life, you're choosing it because you're not changing it. And that's, I don't know how to tie that into the spiritual community and how that's changing, but it's very LA.
I like you're choosing not to change.
Yeah. What you're not changing, you're choosing.
Yeah. Because the other philosophy that comes to mind is you're not prioritizing it and
you're avoiding it.
Yeah.
And a catalyst in life, in evolution, is pain. Why does a plant or an animal evolve? Well, because it was dying too fast. Like, fuck, man, I got to not die so much. How do I turn on a gene to pass down to my great-grandchildren or my great-grand plants that make them stronger?
Yeah.
Or that hurt them in some cases, right? Like, oh, that was a bad choice on that evolutionary move. That's why shit dies out sometimes, I guess. But, you know, that's what makes things grow and change on the planet is pain. It's a catalyst. It's a direction pointing you where to do the work. And you can do the work a million different ways. Pick a way, try it. That's the fun part about it. See what resonates with you, what feels right. What is your intuition telling you instead of your ego? Oh, there's a question. How do you tell the difference between intuition and ego?
It's a bodily feeling versus you're just overthinking.
Overthinking. It's a question. It's a convincing is your ego. Your intuition is a resounding yes or no. That is we need to do this, or a definitely not doing that. There's no way, that's a bad idea. I don't feel safe. Instead of, are we safe? Are you sure you should be doing that? Are you sure? Do you really want to do this again? That question is your ego trying to keep you in check, trying to keep you in a familiar state emotionally or physically because you're alive. Homeostasis. It's designed to protect you. We just got to retrain it.
Yeah. Following intuition, definitely a practice I've been more attuned to as of late, and I think it's very important. Yeah, very important.
That meditation helps you dial into that voice. I don't care if it's 5 minutes a day. I don't care if it's sitting in a parking lot. I don't care if it's in the lunchroom and you put in your earpods and just put on something that is non-verbal music. There's a ton of studies on this. They even studied Wim Hof's brain. Rhonda Patrick and this other UK doc were talking about why can he do the way he does? And then on this interview, it turned into a crazy thing about meditation and a decrease in all-cause mortality with 20 minutes of meditation a day. And it doesn't really matter how you choose to meditate. As long as you're not influenced, that's why I say nonverbal. But as long as you sit. And it can be the noisiest thought thing happening in your brain, and you maybe only get 15 seconds of clarity. That's meditation. A fun thing to try is the inverse, is letting all the thoughts flood in. It's sitting there, closing your eyes and being like, flood. Everything that's on my mind, hit me. That relationship, the work situation, how I need to be doing more, whatever, my goals, let it all flood in for like 30 seconds and then shut the door. Instead of trying to push it all out, let it all in, try it a different way. What flavor do you like? And that will allow you to be more in tune with yourself. It's a way of filling your own cup, is just having a moment to be present with yourself. One way I show people to check in with themselves, this maybe takes a minute or two the first time you do it. And I do this at work. I do this anywhere. Because you can always find, you can do it on the toilet. Why do we always get our best work done on the toilet? We do. It's like because we're alone. No one else will bother us. We're alone with our thoughts. And so you pump out those things you need to on your phone real quick, or Everyone has like moments of greatness on the toilet.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely moments where certain creative thoughts come. You're like, wow, why does this keep happening?
So the check-in, how to get out of your emotional mind and into your body. It is a practice of taking segments of your body, starting forehead and crown of head, moving down to your ears, nose, back of the head, your mouth and chin and jaw, back of the neck, your collarbones and shoulders, then your chest and middle of your arm, bicep, tricep, your ribs, your forearms, your lower belly, your forearms close to your wrist, your waistline, hands, upper thigh, your mid thigh, your knees, your calf, your ankles, and feet. Spend initially 10, 20 seconds on each of those segments, and you just close your eyes. And what can you feel? I can feel this headset on my head, the weight of it against my hair. I can feel some of my hair pressing. I can feel the sweat beating on my forehead from this bright light and no circulation. I can feel my eyes struggling and fluttering to stay shut. I can feel the weight of this thing pressing on my ear. I can feel my breath moving through my nose and my upper lip. I can feel the soreness and stiffness in the back of my neck at the base of my skull. I can feel the thirst in my mouth. I can feel the stiffness in my scalene muscles. I can feel my tank top on my collarbone. I can feel my necklace. I can feel me pressed into this chair. I can feel every breath, the micro movement of everything that's touching me. I can feel the waistband of my pants, the weight of the sit bones. You do that check all the way down. And when you've done it a few times, you can do it in under a minute. Even 30 seconds helps. But that's a way to get out of a consuming emotion, is to sit in and check. And that's what works for me. It's one of the things. There's many tools that work, but that's a flavor I enjoy.
Yeah, it worked for me as well.
Yeah.
When I hit a painful moment that just really broke through for me, it was just the degree to how painful it was a energizing, motivating force to like not plow through, but like make some changes. Excuse me. And where I started to make significant changes was move my body, meditation. I use Headspace, and the simple scan. I started off with 5 minutes. That's all you need to start is 5 minutes of scanning your body, focusing on your breath. And I've done both of body scans. I did multiple different lessons on Headspace, and there was also just allow all these thoughts to come in. Mm-hmm. And if you do it for like an hour, man, you just resolve a lot of the things that are pressing your egotistical analytical mind.
Yeah. You let those emotions like a storm pass. You let them out. And I was raised a single kid. I was left alone a lot. My mom was young. She had me. All parents do the best they can, and they also fuck us up. That's human. No parent, yes, there's fucked up situations and everything. But it's our job to forgive and own how we choose to perceive something and realize that they are human and they're doing the best that they can to perceive and move through life. I don't believe most humans are inherently bad or evil. I just don't. There are some that are, for sure. Mm-hmm. But by and large, I think people want to help. And I think if you give people a chance to speak, you can see the good in people. And this is, like you said at the beginning of this podcast, when other people have been coming into your life and us meeting and talking about what we did and all this cool shit we're exposing each other to, it's like energetically, you meet someone where you're at. It's the same thing for friendship, for networking, for business. When you're tapped a little bit more, or you've grown out of relationships or started to perceive things in a different way, you draw more of that into your life. You can only meet someone where they're at.
Mm.
And so that mirror analogy, when you're in any relationship, romantic, friend, I am a mirror to you and you are a mirror to me, because I'm always projecting. You're reflecting back. I'm reflecting back to you. So the things that you admire about me, or the things that you enjoy, those are the things that are in you that you enjoy. Whether you realize it or not, or whether you want to learn more about it or not, that's what it is. And that can be humor. That can be someone who likes to work out the same way. That can be someone who has the same view on life. That's someone with the same trauma. Someone with that loves the same way. You know, like it can be all these things. And so when anyone really humbles me, sometimes I have to fight the urge to say, that's in you, because I got to receive too. It's like I'm a giver. I'm a nurse. I want to help people. So having that lesson in just receiving, and I've been in a weird transition where it's everything everywhere all at once, where people are showing up and giving me things that I cannot repay, nor would they accept payment of me trying, because they're giving from their heart. And that's hard, man. You want to repay. We're also transactional.
Mm.
Like, how much do you actually give to someone with no recourse? You don't expect anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I've felt an abundance as well in my life over the course of the short term, time period. And given from the heart. I think all you can do, if you're struggling to figure out how to give back, is just, show your appreciation and, just be who you are,
Yeah.
and continue to strive to be a better form of yourself. That's great that you're receiving that type of those signals and that energy, because as woo-woo as that sounds, it's very much happening in my life as well.
Yeah.
And it is beautiful. It is very beautiful. And it's something that I feel like I haven't really received in either a very long time or
maybe
ever.
Yeah.
And it's been an amazing thing to experience. And so I'm honored to. It's good to hear that from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a practice. Like, that's part of my focus right now, is being able to just receive and speaking up to, what do I need?
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally, physically, education. What do I need? And reaching out to people that can help me with that. And most people are pretty willing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most people want to help. And if they don't have the bandwidth for it, that's cool. They don't have the bandwidth for it. It's not personal, but some people have a different temperature or tone, so that can be reactive too. Like, we're not always the best at communicating, right? Myself included. Like, I'm guilty of all these things we've talked about, right? And so much more. I like forgiveness in the way that it is not letting that situation, that thought, that dynamic, that thing that happened take up that much emotional bandwidth. Not letting it impact you. as much. And some things that's easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
Some things that takes help. Some things we can just sit with and say, I know that was unfortunate that happened to me. Or know that person did that thing that they were really hurting. They're projecting to. I know that some of it's circumstantial, like politics and job, and, like we just can't take things as personal. And we all have our bandwidth, like how much we can handle. And so realizing when we're reaching our limits to be like, yo, I need to fill my cup. I need to meditate for a few minutes, or that's huge.
I agree. Something that comes to mind, ever since I've felt this abundant, beautiful energy, I've felt more like myself. I'm back into this natural form. It just feels like for years, through drinking too much, trying to be someone I'm not trying to be, or I'm not someone that that isn't me. Pressures of environmental or societal expectations. For years, that's just been going on. And so now I feel like I'm in a more natural place. And so, man, I mean, all of this good feeling, this good homeostasis or authentic presence or whatever you want to call it, just this kind of good rhythm that I'm feeling. I've been like hanging out with friends all the time and expressing that with them and making new friends, running into new people like yourself and doing this podcast and just kind of in like a go, go, go. Cause like this podcast, I'd like to, get in full drive. Like it's the main focus. Right. So lately, over the course of the past like a week, I've been noticing, you're pushing yourself a little bit too much, and you need to make sure that your awareness of that is there, so that you can still maintain the best presence of yourself.
We're all our own worst critic.
Oh yeah.
And we're all so creative. And I'll have people say, I'm not that creative. I'm not an artist, or I'm not a musician, or, math or spreadsheets. And it's like, you know how you're creative? The worry that you think about and all the things that you think could go wrong that 90% of the time, probably higher than that.
Oh yeah.
Never happen. The worry about having a difficult conversation with a friend or family member or lover. The worry about things that you don't have control over. It's wasted energy. And I'm guilty of this, and I fall back in it because we're human and we're feeling creatures that think and thinking creatures that feel. So it's really difficult to not be consumed by that worry.
It's a great way to put it, though, is our ego, seems to me, is the center of putting you into a secure place. That's what seems to be the reoccurring, familiar. All the majority of your thoughts are, how can I maintain security? Yeah. So you can just right there, if you see that if someone thinks they're not creative, well, let's look at how you have put yourself in a circumstance on a continuous basis of securitizing your life. Yeah. You can do it. Now just change that stance, change that direction, the energy of that. Instead of like, how can I maintain security for my job or whatever, like my relationship, and this person's been kind of abusive lately. You can like kind of flip that and put it into whether it's dance or whether it's some kind of positive expression.
Dance is definitely one of my most creative expressions.
Yeah.
I grew up breakdancing.
Yeah, I saw on, it was, dude, you were...
Oh yeah,
I watched. You had one video, and you were in your nurse.
I was in the OR,
uniform, or
a little breakdown break.
Dude, you were sly. You were smooth. I was like, damn, this guy knows what he's doing.
It's fun. It's like expression. It's moving your body. It's a beautiful expression, and I was really shy with it for a very long time.
Okay, and you got the moves, man.
Thanks. I definitely have my own flavor, style, move, and it's like finding the ecstatic dance community was hard to do. And I found them, and like, or finding a show with the music that I love to dance to is so freeing. And even shaking it out for some people, you know, they get all energetic and need to like shake shit out. We need to move, need to wiggle. You know, this is part of the project that I'm working on. Stepping into entrepreneurship is so hard because there's no course, there's no class. I'm having to organize my brain, discipline my actionable steps, come up with a plan. There's so many little nuance intricacies of how to put things together that I don't know.
It's so difficult because maybe you're the foundation of this. So you're starting anew.
Yeah, I mean, so my project is threefold. It is my own consulting to help people with emotional status, to help with correcting a deficit in nutrition and giving them a re-education on, you don't need blood work and all this stuff first. Let's fix your diet. Let's get you off of these things. Let's get you on a few of these things based on what you can afford. Let me teach you a cheaper way to eat and a healthier way to eat. And let's get things at baseline.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll see where we go. And if I need to send you to a Chinese medicine doc, I'll do that. If I need to send you to a nurse practitioner and you want to do some enzymatic work, we'll do that. If I want to send you to a body worker, we'll do that. I want to send you to Reiki or craniosacral massage. I've been in Austin since 2009. I've had the pleasure of meeting some really fantastic providers in a variety of modalities.
Reiki?
Yeah.
Or just, a variety of modalities. Yeah. Okay.
So that's one part. Mm-hmm. The second part is working on an index of practitioners and businesses and things that involve holistic health. What is that? How does that look? Well, you got to break it down some way. And the way I've chose to do it is practitioners. These are people that are on IG or have their own website, and they are either physical practitioners, mental practitioners, or energetic practitioners of some sort. And there's overlap. Some have that moniker of physical and mental, or mental and energetic. We got to break it down some way. And then it's businesses. It's either a business of movement, a gym, a yoga studio, dance, or it is a business that provides goods and services. Where do you find saunas and cold plunge in town? Where do you find IV therapies in town? Where do you find apothecary? Where do you find a metaphysical store? All these things that are related to health, right? Where do you find links to all the trails, parks, swimming holes, trusted nurseries in town? Where do you find access to water? What's the best water you can afford to get and where to get it? These things are all part of your health. That's holistic health to me. Is we hear it all the time. Mind, body, soul, spirit, whatever. And it's the third part is education. And it's a beast. What is chiropractic care? What is Reiki? What is a craniosacral massage? What does that specialty even mean that a licensed massage therapist can get? And why would I need it? What is Chinese medicine? And that comes in a million flavors too, like yoga. There's so many different types of yoga. So people can make a better informed choice about how they want to optimize and heal and grow. Heal is a tricky word for me because it denotes that there's an end. There's never an end. Stuff that works for me now didn't work 5 years ago. Stuff that used to work for me 10 years ago doesn't work now. And that's the project. I've never seen a holistic hub of practitioners and businesses and educational pieces to connect all this stuff. And I hope to make it a place where practitioners can collaborate care on a client or patient. And with my own consulting, that's what I offer. It's like, I'll do a consult, a 1.5, 2 hour consult, give you a protocol based on your budget. We'll check in a few times, or if you need more than that, it's here's something that we need to work through and you want accountability and more education on this. But it's not long term. I don't ever want to have someone that I'm continuously working with. My job is to empower you to make better informed decisions about your health and healing and optimizing. That's preventative care.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's not happening here. And it's a massive project, and I love it. I've had this dream since I was in college when my college sweetheart was a therapist. She was getting her master's from a Buddhist-based school in Colorado called Naropa. Those were all my extracurriculars, was psych. And then I was in science. And they go together. There's no way they don't. You know, that placebo effect, that epigenetics ties into our emotions, our feelings, our hormones are tied into our mineral toxicity, deficiency, dysregulation. They're all playing together. I cannot tell you to do an exercise that just fires your lat muscle. Yeah, bro, let's work on our lat. Let's get that back. But no muscle fires by itself. You're going to involve shoulder. You're going to involve an oblique and core. Every time. The body works the same way. You can't target a organ with a supplement or nutrient. I heard this is really good for that. Yeah, bro, it can be. Also, it can be really bad for you if you're genetically predisposed. Like ashwagandha really fucks people up sometimes. Lion's mane really fucks people up sometimes. And sure, we can do genetic testing too. And there's a guy that I refer out to that he works with SNPs, gene mutations, and he'll go over all those with you. But it's probability, and we don't understand as much as we think we do. Just like those blood tests, they're one of many tools to use to look at things. So my goal is to get people to a standard first, mentally and physically, and then let's see what we need to correct. Because most people aren't even there, not even there. Even you just don't know what you don't know. That's why I went back to taking myself back to school. Is finding these authors and scientists and docs. Like you're reading Peter Attia's book, right?
I have it. I haven't started, but we saw it in the gym, and my parents got it for my birthday, so I might start reading it.
So you want some my insight there?
Yeah, give it to me.
He's brilliant. Okay, he's a wealth of knowledge. He's also a cardiovascular doc. He's also let his health go and got put on statins. You can say, quote unquote, genetic cardiovascular disease, which is really iron overload in a cell from a dysregulation of bioavailable copper and not enough magnesium and retinol that's needed for that stuff. But he's still very much in the practice of medicine and that he wants to prescribe versus someone like Robert Lustig, who a book I would recommend to everyone is Metabolical. He is a pediatric endocrinologist. He wrote the dietary cure for pediatric fatty liver. We didn't have pediatric fatty liver a couple decades ago. It's because of our shit food. Kids are having livers like alcoholics, cirrhosis of the liver, large inflamed livers. It is not that we're finding out these things earlier through better testing. No, things are actually getting much, much worse for everyone. Robert Lustig, before he was a doctor and a lawyer, he got a degree from MIT in nutrition. He understands cellular respiration. He understands what elements, what minerals are being used for your body to make energy. Morley Robbins, Matt Blackburn. These guys are huge on bioavailable copper. And you can get trained by them. You can read their books, Morley Robbins' book. You will have a different understanding of how the body works. And Metabolical also explains, there's one whole chapter about labs and the difference between how a scientist will look at your labs versus a doctor. There's one whole chapter on the history of medicine. It's also in Morley's writings. This is why people, I hope, choose to change and try to understand something they don't understand. I was working with a surgeon this week, and he entertained me. He was pretty sarcastic and coy with it. We had a fun day. It was a great day. And he was interested in what I had to say. And he was angry. He said, I am a surgeon. I am trained to fix something. And he's like, I am tired of my patients coming to me and asking if I can fix something non-surgically. You came to a surgeon. That's their job. That's how they're trained. And he was like, that's not my job. Go to someone else who's trained that. But who is that? Because a nutritionist is institutional knowledge. What do I mean by institutional knowledge? Doctors, nutritionists, dietitians, they are self-governed. So the rules that are put into place are best practices of a flow chart of how to treat, what to put people on, their recommendations. You are under review every so often for your license. Because technically I have a license, I'm a nurse, but I cannot, the difference between a nursing license and medical license, I cannot give quote unquote medical advice. So nothing that I've said is quote unquote medical advice because I am not part of that institution. So I do not follow their parameters and guidelines and their influenced parameters and guidelines and their lack of understanding of cellular respiration, cellular chemistry. So they have to practice a certain way, or they could lose their license, their job that they spent how many years?
Yeah, that was something that became very obvious to me.
That goes for psychology.
Yeah.
That goes for all kinds of stuff. I know so many therapists who are moving out of psychology so they can openly practice how they want and take cash.
Yeah, and it's great to see that that's happening. So, yeah, certain things that happened with COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of doctors losing licenses because they said this isn't potentially working for this individual. But hey, if you didn't recommend a certain thing and you went out of the scopes of what you're supposed to recommend, you lose your license. And to like embody that, it's like people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know if you get a scholarship, but yeah, you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for medical school.
Yeah.
And that's also time.
So many years of their lives.
Many years of your life, like trying to help.
The running joke is a surgeon is 10 years emotionally younger than his actual age because of school.
Emotionally younger than his actual, wow. Because of school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think this is somewhat of a paradigm shift of the medical and healthcare system.
When you see the term functional medicine, and I got to use something to describe what I do,
that's the term that comes up in my head commonly.
And it's a catchphrase like functional mobility, like you got to call it something. Yeah. And we latch onto a word as a society and culture, right? But that's what you're seeing is people thinking that there's another way and they want to learn more. My problem is if people are talking about instantly running lab work and all this stuff, it's like, whoa. Let's look at your fucking diet and what you're not supplementing, what minerals you're not getting and vitamins you're not getting. And people blow so much money. If you don't pay for something now, an education, food, higher quality food, quality supplements are really fucking hard to find. Unregulated market, right? Like it's scary. And that's a whole other thing. I have a couple trusted brands, but I don't own them. I just recommend them. That's scary, but you will, if you continue to just eat packaged food, eat seed oil, eat sugar infused food, refined sugars. You know, refined sugars also snuff out. Remember that coal and factory analogy? Fructose overloads your cell and its enzymatic processes to make energy, like up to 200 times more than just regular sugar.
Jeez.
And sugar's bad enough, but that would make fructose, any derivative that's not essentially pure sugar, the fentanyl of sugar.
It's in everything.
Yeah.
It's in a lot of things. Fructose.
Stop eating packaged food. There's so many things wrong with it. Those preservatives, those added sugar and refined sugar. It's like we said earlier, water. That's the other one. You gotta get clean water. Go get Primo water at Walmart. If that's all you can afford, go fill it up. Go buy a jug. Fill it up. It's not that bad. If you live in another country, if you live in South America, you got to do that. Mexico, it's normal. And
yeah, here I use the Berkey filter. You were saying it suffices.
Right, it suffices. Like I want to do better.
Yeah.
And I will when I can afford more.
Yeah. And then also the filter on your shower cap. I've been thinking about that.
Yeah. You absorb 40%
of the
maybe a little more of the shit in the water.
Damn.
Through your skin, which is a really good way to take certain minerals, medications.
And other toxins.
Yeah. So that Epsom salt bath you're taking, you don't have filtered water. You're also absorbing all the Prozac, all the fluoride.
Prozac?
Oh yeah, it's too small to get out of a water treatment. Unless you have that chemical filter on your Berkey, get out of there. But you're gonna fill up your tub with Berkey water?
No.
Fuck no. And it's like, I'm not saying like don't take a bath ever. I'm just saying, hey man, be aware. You know, like I do a bath once or twice a week. My bath's a little bit different than anyone else's though. I do 3 cups of baking soda, 2 cups of citric acid, and a cup to 3 cups of magnesium.
Oh man.
Baking soda. Baking fucking soda. Sodium bicarbonate. Sodium bicarbonate is in every anesthesia top drawer. Yellow syringe. Sodium bicarb. It's in every ICU. It's every ER. It is the oh shit medicine. When someone is crashing, someone is dying. One of the main tools a doctor or nurse has is sodium bicarb. Now, IV, liquid form, it alkalizes your blood really quick. Buys you time to fix whatever's going on. An arrhythmia, a fluid deficit, someone bleeding out. Gives you time to put more fluid in. Those are the main things people die from, you know, in an emergent situation. Or pulling fluid off, like whatever. It's the same reason it's in the ER, same reason it's in the ICU. Now, it's been the same exact formula for 160 years. Sodium bicarb. There is no aluminum in baking soda, in Arm & Hammer baking soda. That's a gimmick that others use to be like, this one's aluminum free. Baking powder has aluminum in it. Don't eat baking powder. Don't do it. Not good for you. Now, the dose, the medicine's in the dose, right? A small amount of baking powder daily is amazing for you. There's a fantastic book on it, Sodium Bicarb, written by Dr. Mark Serkis, the doc that was healing people with bicarb. It's the only book that I'm aware of that's been written on this topic. And he goes deep into the biochemistry, how your body absorbs it in your gut, how it interacts with your stomach acid. It can cause, it's used as an antacid. If you look at the Arm & Hammer box, it says for your refrigerator odor, it says consult your physician for bicarb therapy. The fuck is that? Well, take a 1/4 teaspoon twice a day. Brush your teeth with it and less toothpaste. Hope your toothpaste is fluoride free. And you are alkalizing your tissue by ingesting it. Disease does not like alkalinity. Now, this does not offset bad fuel, a deficiency, or toxicity in a mineral, okay? But this will help you fight off. It also has a very, very wide spectrum of antifungal and antibacterial and antiviral. You can wash your food with it. It's amazing. That bath, don't put the citric acid in until you get in. You can put your mag in, you can put your baking soda, let it stir up, and then as you get in, dump out a couple of cups of your citric acid. It makes it bubble like crazy. Your skin, your hair is going to feel amazing. If you're constipated, it's going to move some shit. Bicarb is the other thing that our bodies use a ton of. Remember back to our history lesson when the planet was aerobic, life without oxygen? Our bodies use CO2. They use bicarb all the fucking time. We had to adapt and use both, oxygen and bicarb. Your body would die without it too. It is, again, too much of it is poisonous. Too much oxygen is deadly and poisonous. So it creates all these micro bubbles, literally bubbles up like a jacuzzi, the citric acid, which is, if you haven't cooked with citric acid, you can buy it in the bulk section or off Amazon. It's super cheap. Not as cheap as a 3-pound bag of baking soda is like $21, $22. The citric acid is basically lime salt or lemon salt. Every chef on the planet uses more lemon than you. So use a lot of lemon or citric acid. Try it. It's fucking delicious. Try it with your potatoes. Oh my God, that's a game changer. Zesting lemon on your potatoes or using citric acid with your potatoes. It's like, is this a dessert or is this a savory thing? I don't know, but it's delicious. Anyways, those small bubbles will help it be absorbed into your body. Help that bicarb be absorbed through your skin, which will not cause GI upset. That's why an Epsom salt bath works so well. That's magnesium being absorbed through your skin, not causing GI distress. We have GI distress for a myriad of reasons. It's too complicated to figure it all out, but basically you start fixing some other things and your body is amazing. It'll start healing itself. You know the largest organ in your body? Take a guess.
Largest?
Yeah.
Your skin.
Most surface area is your epithelial tissue. And that is the one cell layer that is the gateway between your internal world, your biome, your gut bacteria biome, and outside, breathing air, drinking water, fuel. It's the mucus lining everywhere in your body, the inside of your eyelids. It is the inside of your nose, your mouth, your throat, your lungs, all of your intestines, all the way down to your butt. That will cover a tennis court and a half.
Wow.
It's only one cell thick. Now think about if you have dysregulation in those cells. The serotonin that's made in your gut can't get where it needs to be. The things that you're eating can't be absorbed and thus used for your body to produce its bile, its hormones, its everything, your mood, your synapses firing. It's the gateway between our inner world and our outer world. And it is just as affected as any other cell. I think I want to touch on extended microdosing.
Yeah.
When is something not medicine anymore? When it becomes a habit, when you start depending on it. By definition, that's not medicine. We call medicine like all these things that are prescriptions. But if you're depending on something, take a break. Take a break. Integrate. Don't identify as the microdoser.
There seems to be a lot of that.
It's rampant.
Well, mushrooms.
Yeah. They're great.
Psilocybin's becoming legal in Oregon, and it's starting to become more decriminalized.
Alcohol's legal, right?
Yeah.
It's horrible for you.
Yeah.
Mushrooms arguably are not as horrible for you. But do you think the population is going to learn how to control that? Do you think that Big Pharma does not realize that it's going to cause that too many people are going to go overboard with it and be at a deficit and then need to be on Prozac, on Lexapro?
Yeah, it's a bit scary to see where it could go.
Why do you think a ketamine clinic is a cash cow? Because it has to be given, there's a lethal dose. It's not as understood as LSD, psilocybin, MDMA, mescaline, which is cactus, I'm sorry. So now insurance is involved because you have to have a licensed medical doctor or provider, and the nurse who is administering it is practicing under their license. So insurance is involved. Mm-hmm. It's a cash cow. And it's a great therapeutic tool, but how it's being used in practice, you don't give people a lozenge or nasal spray to walk around with. I just gave you a crutch to walk around with. I just gave you a microdose to walk around with. Mm-hmm. So anytime you're feeling dysregulated or stressed out, which is where you're supposed to do the work, now you just have a little Band-Aid and a quick fix. It's no different than taking Xanax. That's a great analogy. Microdosing. If you're microdosing, I've done it. I've microdosed for 4 to 6 months twice. Deeply impactful. I was also reading self-help books, and the other time I was in therapy while I was doing it.
So you said 4 to 6 months. You were doing it every day or every other?
No, I did James Fadiman's regimen, which was the inventor of microdosing, still alive. He was alive in the 60s. He was the father of microdosing. When you watch Fantastic Fungi and you freeze the screen when they talk about microdosing and him in those studies, they also combined it with speed. I chose to do NAC instead because it's a synaptic enhancement for your firing.
Okay.
But they prescribed it with a dose of speed per body weight. 1 to 2 times a week, 0.1 to 0.25 or 3.5, something like that, milligrams. And most people scaled back to once a week. Now they did an extended thing. They did like 6 months to a year. So they basically showed back then that you could get the same effect from 1 macro dose, like 5 grams, or extended microdosing in conjunction with therapy. Mm-hmm. So that's what, MAPS and everything wants to do. And you have a lot of underground practitioners that don't want to fall into institutional guidelines for how they practice. And there's going to be a lot of good that comes out of it. There's also going to be a lot of bad that comes out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've microdosed a few times. Being here in Austin, I'll take like 100 or 200 milligrams to around 0.5.
It's also becoming like weed. People are becoming connoisseurs.
Yeah.
Cubensis is cubensis, but now we have connoisseurs. They're like, I like the feel of penis envy. I like the feel of golden teacher. I like the feel of albino B+. This one is from Tasmania.
It's like becoming a recreational drug.
Well, no, they're making it strong as fuck.
Just like they did with weed.
Exactly. That's my point. Is now it's becoming a connoisseur, and they're making stuff so potent.
Yeah, that's scary because you think you're doing I'm doing.
Yeah.
Normally I do 200 to 500 milligrams of psilocybin, and we I don't know if that's synthetically upping up.
Same thing with THC. Give me a balance of CBD and CBN, CBG with THC, and I don't need anything. I'm like 1 puff, I'm good, and that's once in a blue moon.
Yeah, same.
For me personally. I got a funny story with Delta 8.
What's that?
THC derived from hemp.
Okay.
Technically legal in Texas, even though every head shop that's here that sells stuff sells the real deal because it's not policed. So they're just set up shop to make even more money for when it becomes legal in Texas. So I used to go to like Tom's Market and get the little CBD gummy bears, purely just CBD. It was like a little 6-pack. And if I was wanting to relax a little bit or something, that was perfect. I grabbed that. Boom. Well, I was next to a Royal Blue or Blue Royal, the other, it's like the other version of Tom's.
Royal Blue.
Thank you. And a little hungover, which is rare for me. And I had to run to Home Depot and do all this shit. So I grabbed what I thought was something similar. Did not read the package.
Oh, no.
It was 4 full doses of Delta 8. I got to Home Depot. Was wondering why it was taking me so long to find whatever I was looking for. I was like, man, I've walked around this whole store. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm starting to feel I got to get out of here. Fuck, something is wrong. Get me home quick. Got out of there. I was the most uncomfortable high I've ever been in my life. And I was in therapy at the time. Oh, I could not listen to music. I could not watch TV. I couldn't do anything besides sit with my own thoughts. And for the next 5 hours, I had 3 perspectives going on in my brain. I had me observing, listening to myself talk to myself. So there's 2 versions of Ryan saying, hey, man, you really got to stop doing this, or you got to step it up here, or just having a blunt conversation with the other Ryan. It's like, yeah, man, fuck, you're right. Like, I need to do better here. I need to stop doing this. I'm an asshole. I fucked up there. I need to own that. And then the other me, the third me, just watching it happen. And I could not stop that conversation from happening. So I was like, here we go. The most uncomfortable 5 hours of my life. It was like a bad trip. It was also extremely powerful and needed to happen. And was so grateful when it did. When it wore off, I was like, fuck, I feel so much lighter. And this was a couple of years ago. It's a moment of massive epiphanies and ownership.
So was it powerful due to the truths that you observed in the conversation, or was it because you went through a very difficult, uncomfortable moment of the sensory, the sensory aspect of it, and then after being in a sensory, difficult, uncomfortable scenario, and then getting back into the soberness?
Yes,
it was a combination of both.
all of the above. That's the thing. Like, we want such definitive things, but when we have emotional intelligence, one of the ways to define that is the ability to hold multiple emotions at the same time. You can love someone and grieve for them. You can love someone from a distance because you have to and miss them. You can be mad at them. And apply that to yourself. I can be mad at myself. I can love myself. I can be disappointed in myself. I can be proud of myself. All over the same action or same thought. And giving ourselves the ability to look at those things and be like, okay, I'm mad about this about myself. I am sad about this about myself. I don't like this about myself. And our job is to look at those things and be like, well, why don't I like this about myself? Why does that hurt? You know, when we get triggered, it is not the situation at hand. It is some core memory or experience or events that we haven't dealt with and processed that is bringing up that memory, and your CNS and your body remembers, and it's saying, fuck, 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 fuck. I don't like this. And whatever trigger response you have. Mine's fight. I know how to be an asshole. I watched my mom being a mean drunk. I watched her curse and shove her husband, a few ex-boyfriends, and just say the meanest, nastiest shit. I can be an asshole. I know how to be. I learned it from her. So that's a fight trigger response.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a fawn, a freeze, or a flee, run. Fawn is, you're right. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Freeze is you completely shut down. And the other one is you run. Fuck it. I'm out. I'm never dealing with this. Bye. You'll never see me again. And that makes me navigate life differently, being aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's got their own thermostat, what they like to set their temperature at in their house in regards to what's going to trigger me. And it's our job to communicate those boundaries and the why with someone. But it's also our job to not project them onto other people. But like, hey, just so you know, I've been through some shit and this thing is hard for me to deal with. I'm working on it. I just want you to know.
Mm. Yeah, that's very difficult to do at times too.
Well,
it's like
you can't account for the other person, right?
Right.
So are they in a spot to hear it?
Depends.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not worth trying.
Yeah. It's like establishing one book that is in my space right now. A friend of mine. I also have it too. I read like half of it, Nonviolent Communication.
Mm.
And so, just having the skill to set those boundaries, but also not project. I liked how you stated that. Not project onto others. Just kind of observe what people are doing. There's a acronym in the book, like observe, and then observe what's happening. What are you feeling? And then there's a couple others that I forget. But it seems like it's effective with setting your boundaries, letting people know about them, the ones, the people that you care about, and then also knowing not to project, your feelings onto others as well.
Boundaries are tough, right? It's like our edges. It's like, where can I soften there? Where do I need to speak up more? Because I've been too soft. It's not as firm as boundaries, because it's like, you don't want to say, hey, don't ever talk to me about this. Don't ever put me in a situation. I can't control that. I can't control never getting triggered again. Are you kidding me? I'm going to get triggered all the time. And I'm going to be grateful for every time that I do, because it's in those moments that I have the opportunity to change my perspective, to own it more, to be able to incorporate and tie in that aspect of me into my story and make it success. Show that side of me love. Find a healthy outlet for that version of me. It's not about, here's my shit, don't bring it to me ever. No, that's what's wrong with people. Like, it's one of the main things. Like, we use that as a crutch all the time. I had this real like narcissism. This other like famous psychologist talking about clinical narcissism is such a small percentage of the population. Yes, we can have narcissistic tendencies in a moment, but it's not where the majority of the population live. And it's very gaslighting. Like, I was dating a narcissist. I'm a narcissist, or this person's a narcissist. It's like, okay, again, you don't understand what that word is.
It's definitely over pathologized, because I've found myself saying that too, or like questioning, am I a narcissist, or is this friend a narcissist, or was this family member? And
it is so hard to take away blame. Ownership is, how did I allow someone to treat me? I have a great form that I help with clients. Like I said, it's not just minerals and all this stuff too. It's the mental aspect. Man, I had this badass therapist, Jan Mann. She's fucking awesome. She's an old battle axe of a nurse, and she gave me this relationship autopsy, 25 questions that you cannot falter, that you cannot fuck with. And one of those questions is, you're supposed to do this form for all your past pertinent relationships. And maybe it's time for me to reevaluate the couple last relationships I've had, because it's been years since I did this. But the point is, it's like 20, 25 questions. And like one of those questions is, how did you teach your partner how to treat you?
Wow.
You can't bullshit that answer.
No, you can't.
No.
It's a powerful question too.
Yeah, not if you're being real with yourself.
Yeah. Whew. Well, we've gone around 2 hours.
Amazing.
We started a little late. Yeah. And wow, you really you have an abundance of knowledge that I want to tap into. And I have so many questions.
Oh yeah. Hey man, I'm glad I could entertain.
Yeah.
And thank you for the opportunity to just ramble the fuck on.
No, that's a part of the art of the conversation too. And doing this is like when to find time to like interject. And
yeah,
but you've got you've got a wealth of knowledge that a large portion of society in America needs. So I look forward to having you on again if you're feeling the call to do that. And then also, just picking your brain because I'm on my own health journey as well. So where can people find you?
ATX_holistic_RN.
Okay. And I'll link that in the podcast notes. Is there anything else?
No, man. I mean, come at me. If you want to have a free, quick consultation, think if we can see how to get you on the better side of your own health.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I am here to help, but it is also my job, and it comes with 20 years of research and knowledge, and I really enjoy helping people. I'm a 2 on Enneagram. It's part of my purpose. Why I became a nurse. Like, how can I help people more?
Thank you, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. I definitely want to reach out and interact with you more. So, and I look forward to your growth with this entrepreneurial path.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Look forward to what comes next.
Yes. All right. Peace out, everybody.
Later.